Hi, Adventure Alan here, and I'm super excited to talk to you about one of the hottest tents of 2021. It is a new tent from Sea to Summit, and it is their Telos TR2. And this tent is directly targeted at the heavyweights in the lightweight and ultralight tent market. And those would be the Big Agnes Copper Spur, and the other tent would be the MSR Hubba Hubba. And the Telos TR2 has a whole bunch of innovative features. Sea to Summit spent about 2 years developing this tent, working with DAC, the tent pole company, and a bunch of engineers to really try and re-engineer the tent and improve upon it. And we think they've done a pretty good job of adding some creature comforts, increasing that ever desirable interior space while holding weight reasonable. So with that, we're going to go ahead and take a look at this tent, and I'm just going to quickly run through the components, and then we'll go ahead and set it up and start walking you through the tent. But one of the fun things about this tent right here is they have what they call their fair share, and the tent actually comes in 3 separate components, so you and your partner can divvy them up, or even 3 people could divvy them up. But there's essentially the tent body there, this is the tent fly here, and this is the poles here, and you can mix and match them. And these 2 stuff sacks actually double as storage bags or containers, pockets inside the tent. It comes with a footprint if you want it, and there's also a gear loft that comes with the tent, and we'll set all those up and you can see how they work. So without any further ado, let's going to go ahead and we're going to set up the tent, and I'll meet you back at the tent. Okay, so we've just set this tent up here. We're going to do the body only because we're going to have the rain fly off so we can do our tour of the inside and some of the key features that would be hard to see with the fly on the tent. But the first and biggest deal about this tent is this tension ridge. And you can come in a little closer to it. This tension ridge, if you notice that most tents these days have a brow pole, and usually that slopes down this direction. And what Sea to Summit has done is this actually goes up at an angle. And what that does is it makes these walls of the tent here even more vertical. I mean, you'll see tents like the Big Agnes Copper Spur or the Sling Fin Portal also have this brow pole or this spreader pole that makes the walls vertical. But it turns out from an engineering standpoint, it's very hard to make it go up vertically like this, up at an angle, but it creates a more vertical wall and gives you a lot more space inside the tent. And it also makes it easier to get in and out of the door because you don't have to stoop. I mean, I can almost get into this tent without ever having to get on my knees. So that's a really nice feature for the tent. Another exterior thing is this, and you can come in and zoom in on this too, this really nice color-coded multi-use connectors. The Rainfly is going to connect to this, but it's got a tie-out, an adjustable tie-out loop, and it's color-coded, but this is just super easy to get in and out and just pop it in like that. Moving into the inside of the tent, there's some kind of fun things going on here. One, we really like pockets, and this tent has a lot of pockets and storage. So one of the things is this, we showed you earlier in the video, we have this nice gear loft here, which has got these preset toggles. Nice big sort of huge, you could put half a backpack's worth of stuff in here. Coming into the tent up at the head area where you really want the storage, the tent body and the Rainfly stuff sacks double as storage pockets right here. So that's the Rainfly stuff sack there, and then a mirror of it, you really can't see it that well, is the tent body. Is the stuff's there, it clips in. And then there's also storage pockets, mesh ones on either side of the tent for each camper. So lots of storage, which makes it easy to organize in the tent. And then up here, this is the pole storage sack, which clips to the ceiling. And this is a light bar. It's a light diffuser, so you can put a headlamp in from either end, so each hiker could put their headlamp up in here. And it gives this really nice, diffuse, non-blinding light to operate in the tent at night. So somebody just really thought about this tent in terms of just making it as livable as possible inside. So if I'm sitting up in this tent, you can see, I've got this amazing peak height here, even with the light bar and everything set up. It's really nice. And then, you could sit face to face because these walls are so vertical. You could actually sit each other face to face and have a meal or something in the tent. And if you want to pan back out a little bit, one of the things that's kind of cool about this tent is this head wall is almost vertical at this point. You can look at it. So I can sit up all the way almost over to here, and I can move down to the end of this gear loft, and I'm still sitting up. So compared to an MSR Hubba Hubba or even a Big Agnes Copper Spur, there's a lot more volume or usable space in this tent than either of those two tents. So this is kind of the king in terms of getting, people talk about flora in a tent, but what you really want to know about, and we've covered this in the reviews of other tents, including the Copper Spur and the Slingfin Portal, you want this vertical space here, and this tent does a better job of establishing vertical space than either the Big Agnes Copper Spur or the MSR Hubba Hubba. So this is a place where you could actually hang out in for a while in a rainstorm and not want to murder your partner or wish that you were dead. I mean, you could actually hang out comfortably in here. Okay. So now we're going to look at what I think is one of the coolest features about this tent. First of all, Allison and I are not big fans of using a rainfly unless it's actually raining. We like to look outside. We like the ventilation, the lack of condensation, viewing the stars. So Sea to Summit's thought about that, and there's a way to sort of semi-pitch the fly here so that if it does rain or you get a rainstorm overnight, you can quickly deploy it, but you can leave the fly off the tent for all the beautiful night breezes and views. And essentially it just rolls up like this, and you could just undo this and unroll the fly down here. I'll just do the one end only here, but you come down. It's got this really nice color-coded clip system. You can see how easy it is. Yeah, come in. So it's color-coded. Remember I told you how cool this connector is. You can just do like that, connect the rainfly. I'm going to go over and do it on the other side here. And we can go ahead and do the whole thing. And then I can just flip this part over here, bring this over, slide it down. And you can actually do this from inside the tent without actually having to come outside. I just happen to be outside here, so I'm going to do it. But essentially come down, and voila! We have now pitched our rainfly on the tent. Let's loosen that up for a second there and make it a little easier. And again, you could do this just from the inside of the tent. But bingo, we are in storm mode now. So a very cool feature, one that Allison and I, when we use this tent, we'll be doing this all the time again, because we're gonna leave that rolled up most of the time and look at the stars. But nice to be able to do it that quickly when the need arises. Okay, so let's just sort of talk about wind testing and storm resistance. This tent is somewhere between like a heavy-duty tent and a sort of regular dome backpacking tent. This has been tested up to 30, 40 mile an hour winds in a wind tunnel. It's reasonably wind resistant if you guy it out. They do give you some extra stakes and some guy lines in this bag You probably want to put a couple more in there, but this is a reasonably wind resistant shelter, pretty strong. This is a DAC NSL pole set, which is a premium, lightweight, relatively strong pole set. And it does have this brow pole and these nice anchors here. One of the other things we like about them, it does come with a set of very nice Y stakes. And one cool feature is that these Y stakes have these like serrations here. So you don't have to, see I don't have this all the way into the ground, but this is not going to come up and over the top of the stake. And that's kind of a lazy stake out there. But it's a nice high quality tent stake to come with the tent. We talked about one of the first great features, which is this tension ridge here. And the next thing that Sea Summit is addressing with this tent is ventilation and condensation, which is always, even with a double-walled tent like this, condensation is always an issue, something that always needs to be managed. And frankly, on most tents, the ventilation options are too small. And nobody's really done a sophisticated sort of like airflow analysis of how best to move the air through the tent, out of the tent. Sea Summit has put this big, huge, enormous vent right here. And it's hard to see how big it is, but this thing really goes way, way deep into the tent here. Get that out of the way. So this big hole, and it's got a huge overhang, and you can unzip it. And the idea is you get this chimney effect, but there's actually enough area here for the ventilation to move out of both sides here. But the other thing they've done, and we're going to have to rejigger the tent doors a little bit to show this to you, is what you really want, you don't want the chimney effect. What you really want is for air to blow in underneath this rain fly, come into the tent, and then come out. You really, whatever the predominant wind direction is, you want to let a little bit underneath it. So if I move this door back here a bit, and I'm going to have to go inside the tent, but essentially, if I go inside the tent here and I zip this door down, there's a little toggle about halfway up so that I can roll this partially up. I can hold this thing partially up and zip it back down. And this still gives me enough rain protection, but it allows the wind to blow through here, and it comes through here and then up. So the air is coming in this direction, it's going up the wall of the tent and up through the ceiling, but you're actually getting this energy of this air moving through an actual motive force to do it. And you can do this on whatever side of the tent is kind of on the windward side of the tent. You can do it up like this, and there's a little toggle or thing to keep it closed. It's a great idea. We're big fans of it, because you really need something just besides the sort of like heat air rising chimney effect. You need something to move through the tent there. So this should be a significant improvement on ventilation, keeping it from foggy, stuffy in the tent, smelling your partner's socks, and keeping condensation and humidity down to a reasonable level. Okay, so yeah, that just shows you that you can see the bottom of the fly is lifted up a bit, and it allows the air to come up. So we've talked about sort of two major features of this tent. One is this tension ridge and all the livable space it creates inside the vertical walls, the internal volume, the nice pockets. That's kind of one thing, that's sort of a creature comforts livability thing. And then we talked about this rainfly, the multi-pitching mode, but particularly this ventilation, this huge covered vent, and the way you can create airflow underneath the bottom of the fly to keep this tent dry. You can have this fly rolled back or rolling it down really quickly. But we're going to sort of cover the third feature of this tent, which is the versatility of the tent, which we'll be talking about. But this tent can be pitched many ways. You saw one of the ways, which is the inner only. And so you can do the inner only without the fly up, or you can do the inner only with the fly rolled up like a Tootsie Roll, which gives you beautiful views and ventilation. You can obviously pitch it with the fly on the tent like we did, but there is a fly only mode. And one of the cool things about the fly only mode on this tent is that you don't need a footprint or any strap system to do it in fly only mode. The trick to doing this tent in fly only mode, and we can come in and do the snap zoom again, you can come in on this pole, is that in the fly only mode, if we take this connector out of the picture and come in, this pole doesn't need to be here to hold tension. You could actually clip this into the fly and it holds it in place, which is kind of a cool feature. Take that back out. The other option, which I am not going to show because it's not an option that I would personally use a lot, but if you pitch this in fly only mode without the footprint, you can actually, using your trekking poles, lift up one end of the tent, and this becomes what they call a hub, but I would call like a sunshade. But this whole tent, I can sort of mimic it here. It's not that hard to do. Imagine this tent body is, imagine the tent body's not there, but this whole thing comes up like this, and you can support it with your trekking poles, and it becomes this huge canopied sunshade. You can put a couple of like outdoor chairs in there and hang out, sheltered by the sun. When it comes time to go to bed, you can just drop this back down and pitch your tent. So kind of a cool creature comfort thing. I could see using it like if we were in the desert in Utah and you're desperate for shade and there isn't any shade, that might be a really nice feature. So there you have it. This is the new Sea to Summit Telos TR2 tent. Again, it is designed to go head to head and take on the two heavyweights in the ultralight tent community, and that would be the Big Agnes Copper Spur and the MSR Hubba Hubba. It seems from our standpoint to provide some significant features and versatility compared to those tents. Certainly it beats them out on internal volume using this new higher door, higher arm awning to the tent. You obviously saw all the different pitching options that are available to you and the increased ventilation using this big roof vent and this venting underneath it. Just quickly to talk on weight, this is a little over 3 pounds for the Telos TR2, so that's slightly more than the weight of the Big Agnes Copper Spur, but significantly less than the MSR Hubba Hubba. Cost is similar. They do make, and we tried to get one, but they're not available yet, an Altos version of this tent. And that is semi-freestanding. You have to stake out the two corners on the end, similar to the Big Agnes Tiger Wall. And that tent will actually be lighter than the Copper Spur. It'll be about 2.5 pounds, so a few ounces lighter than the Copper Spur and quite a bit lighter than the MSR Hubba Hubba. Anyway, we're excited about this tent. Obviously, it's still early days with this, so this should be considered a first look, an initial impression with it. We'd have to get it out into some really high winds and serious inclement weather to be to the point where we would consider this a full review. But so far, we're super impressed with what we've seen. We would expect this tent to be a mainstay in the ultralight backpacking community and something seriously worth considering anybody that's going to buy a 1 or 2 person tent. So the Altos, which is the lighter version, then is available in a 1 and 2 person, and the Telos is in a TR2 and a TR3, and that's a 2 and a 3 person version. And actually the Telos is available in a 3+ season or more winterized version, and instead of the mesh inner, it has a fabric inner. It's slightly heavier, but it pushes it to that 3+ season. Anyway, we hope you found this video useful, and if you did, please go ahead and like this video. Go ahead and subscribe to the Adventure Alan. Click that bell for all the new content. We're going to be consistently putting out videos. And until then, this is Adventure Alan signing out.